Hey everyone, What If Fan here. Welcome to the first part of the new series What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 1, Creating Manga of One Piece in Pirates World become my ultimate goal. Welcome to the network of interesting dreams, where your dreams can come true. Click here to participate in our survey. While browsing the internet on a boring evening, Rob came across an intriguing advertisement that he had never seen before. Can dreams really come true? What a funny joke, he said, but Rob's expression remained cold, despite finding the intriguing ad amusing. But it's quite interesting because this is the first time he's encountered such an advertisement. Despite concerns about data-sucking viruses or other risks, he went in to take a look. He was a high-level hacker who wasn't too proud to admit it, and his computer was secure to the max, making him a difficult target. As one of the Darknet's lords, the most intriguing aspect of this ad for Rob was that no ad could appear on his computer because he had long ago taken measures to prevent them from doing so. The question that now plagued him was how could an electronic advertisement breach all of his security measures and appear in front of him? Rob found it really interesting. As soon as he clicked the ad link, his computer screen turned red, and he saw several juvenile questions. Despite their appearance, Rob knew that answering these questions would help his servers analyze the virus more quickly and eventually eliminate it. Welcome to the Network of Interesting Dreams survey. Get ready to be excited because today is your lucky day. Oh, he thinks today is my lucky day? Give me a break, grumbled Rob. The first survey question read, which anime or manga world would you like to live in? Without hesitation, Rob wrote down One Piece. 1 dash, check. The second survey question was, what is the most interesting thing you can do in this world? However, there was a disclaimer below the question. If your answer is not interesting enough, your survey will not be accepted, and you will be disqualified. Think carefully before recording your answer. The prompt directed Rob to record his response in the following space, _____. Rob pondered, what could I do in the One Piece's world that would be interesting enough for this damn virus? To be a pirate king? No, that's too cliché, Rob thought to himself. What about a Yonko? No, that's too corny. He then considered the idea of becoming the fleet admiral but quickly dismissed it as a very frequent idea. How about being a revolutionary? No, that's also too corny, he concluded. Maybe I could be a celestial dragon, Rob thought, but his enthusiasm quickly waned as he searched for One Piece fanfiction stories on his phone. Unfortunately, he found that the idea of becoming a celestial dragon was also a common one among fans. What the hell, there's nothing interesting here, he muttered, feeling frustrated. He continued scrolling through the ranks of fanfics in webnovel until one caught his attention. This is it. I will become the king of mangakas. Finally, Rob found an idea that might be unique enough for the survey. He hesitated briefly before recording his answer. Create a One Piece manga within the One Piece world and let the world of pirates enjoy the future, making the great age of pirates even more chaotic. 2 dash, check. Rob felt relieved when his goal was accepted and proceeded to answer the next question in the survey. Do you want to start out strong, become strong from being weak, or just remain a weak person in the background? I want to be strong from the start so that I don't have to worry about my safety, Rob typed on the keyboard quickly. 3 dash, check. Do you prefer a random or specific reincarnation? I'd like it to be random, but I hope I get to be handsome, Rob answered. 4 dash, check. Which era in One Piece do you wish to travel to? I want to travel to the era after the God Valley event, specifically the year 1493 in the sea calendar, replied Rob. 5 dash, check. If you could choose 4 abilities to help you achieve your goal, what would they be? Rob was lost in thought for a moment. Then quickly typed his answer. I would wish for 1. Photographic memory, 2. A devil fruit without any side effects. Its power is to freely create, edit, and modify paper according to my imagination. 3. A high-level system that could help me spread my art all over the world, preferably with a shop that sells modern earth items that can be bought with reading points or something similar. And 4. Exceptional drawing talent. 6. Check. Your survey has been accepted. Thank you for your interesting idea, and have a nice trip. Ha! What's going on? Rob noticed that the red light emitted by the computer screen was becoming so bright that he couldn't keep his eyes open. After a while, clarity returned to his sight, and he was able to open his eyes again. But when he saw the scene in front of him, he was shocked by its absurdity. The blue sea was covering his entire field of vision. An incredible idea appeared in Rob's mind. Could the survey be real? Too ridiculous. Looking at his surroundings, he noticed that he was standing on the stern of a wooden ship, watching its movement. Ah! My head. Shit. Rob's head started hurting so much that it felt like squeezing billions of data into a small storage memory. After a few seconds, the headache that nearly split his head subsided until it disappeared completely. Rob's eyes widened as he discovered an astonishing truth from the strange memories that filled his head. Rob realized that he had actually been transported into the world of One Piece. Interesting Dream Network congratulates you on your successful cosmic transition. At this moment, a loud voice was heard in his mind. Promised benefits will be dispatched shortly, please find a quiet place and stay away from any disturbance. It continued. A mysterious aura enveloped Rob, making him feel like he was disconnected from the world. He was completely lost and his thoughts were in disarray. What the fuck is going on? He exclaimed. Rob realized that his supposed intelligence was now insignificant in the face of this inexplicable situation. Even the voice that he heard in his head sounded like a distant thunder that he could barely understand. Congratulations! You have been transported to the world of One Piece. Completed! You have been bestowed with the special title of Beginner Mangaka. Completed! Beginner Mangaka, rich thoughts will now pour down on you like rain. At that moment, Rob felt as if he had entered an enlightened state, similar to the flow of thoughts like a river when a mangaka's creativity begins to take shape in a great story. You have been granted an immortal body that cannot die. Completed! Following the mysterious state of enlightenment, a chill ran through his body, and a grandiose thought filled his mind. Immortal and indestructible. Even if he was reduced to ashes, he would return in his full form. Even if he was ground up into a meat pie, he would rise again in his complete body. This was not just terrifying, it was terrifying by millions of miles. You have received the body of a man named Rob who is both handsome and tall. Completed! An image of a man standing at 290 centimeters with a fairly handsome face, sharp features, and tired eyes, exuding an air of responsibility appeared. He had short black hair, dark yellow pupils, and a slightly muscular build. This was the man whose body Rob had taken over, and while it seemed like a random selection, Rob had a nagging feeling that it was not entirely by chance. This guy is not just any ordinary random character, he thought to himself. The appropriate timeline has been determined based on your preferences in the survey. You have been sent to the year 1493. Completed! A photographic memory has been obtained that can retrieve all the memories of the survey participant and record them in high-quality mental data. Completed! Rob's mind split into multiple layers once again, and memories that were deeply buried in his mind began to return one by one. Whether it was the memories of earthly Rob or Rob from the pirate world, everything was restored from the first moment of both individuals in their respective worlds. As this happened, something mysterious occurred within Rob's soul. It was as if two people were merging into one, and Rob's soul became brighter as if it had risen to a higher level than just an ordinary soul. The photographic memory brought back all the memories that had disappeared over time from both individuals and kept repeating themselves in Rob's consciousness until each of those multiple memories was organized into a vast mental library. At that moment, Rob was crying silently. All of his buried memories were recovered, whether good or bad. For earthly Rob, his most terrible hidden memory was the accident in which his parents died when he was 9 years old. He was the only survivor and was moved to an orphanage ever since. As for Rob from the pirate world, his parents were killed in front of him by fierce pirates during an attack on his peaceful village when he was also 9 years old. Despite the tears that flowed earlier, earthly Rob's face lit up with a smile as he recalled the happiest moment of his life, which was buried deep in his memories. It was the day when he received his first computer from a kind uncle who had donated it to the orphanage when Rob was 11 years old. As for Rob from the pirate world, his happiest moment was when he married the love of his life and adventure partner. The memories of this moment flooded his mind, causing Rob to freeze in shock as he realized that the woman he was now inhabiting the body of her husband was his wife. Congratulations, you've got the paper fruit without any side effects. Completed. Rob felt a weight in his hand and saw a pear-shaped fruit with white swirls and spiral patterns materialize before him. Without any hesitation, he devoured it in a single bite, savoring the taste of ripe pear, with no trace of the usual revolting taste associated with devil fruits. As soon as he swallowed the devil fruit, a mysterious sensation overcame him, making him feel as light as a feather. He resisted the urge to test his newfound powers, knowing that there were still other benefits to be had. Paper fruit was a paramecia-type devil fruit that allowed the user to create and manipulate paper according to their imagination, with the added ability to transform their body into a paper body like Logia users, with limitless possibilities at his disposal. Hearing that, Rob couldn't wait to see what he could achieve with his new powers. Congratulations, you've obtained the art publishing system attached to a dimensional shop. Completed. Ding. The art publishing system is being prepared. The system is ready. Preparing a dimensional shop connected to modern Earth. Connected successfully. This time, a computer-like window appeared in front of Rob, and he heard several automated notifications ringing in his ear. They were different from the majestic and divine voice that he had been hearing until now. What is the art publishing system? Rob asked, feeling that this was the most important question to ask before he got into anything else. The art publishing system is a system that has one goal, which is to make its host a universal artist known to all beings in the world, the system replied. And how does it work? Before Rob could receive any response from the system, a majestic voice echoed in his mind like a thunderclap. You've got a very high-level drawing talent. Completed. By the end of it, he felt his 5 senses enriched by an extraordinary talent, a very high-level drawing talent. His hand felt itchy, begging him to draw. His heart burned with a passion for drawing. His eyes were captivated by the sight of the beautiful blue sea and the fish jumping behind the ship's trail. He wanted to capture this breathtaking scenery on paper as quickly as possible. His nose detected the fresh and pure air of this world, which he also wanted to express through his drawings. He felt that the sound of waves, seabirds high in the sky, the gentle wind pushing the ship's sail, and feet moving on the deck, all these sounds could be portrayed through his art. He sensed his mind is imbued with a professional and high-level drawing ability. For the first time, Rob realized that any emotion or feeling could be conveyed through art, just like in real life. The divine network has fulfilled all your needs and desires. However, as everything was provided by us, it can also be easily taken away. You are free to live your life as you wish, but you must complete the interesting task given to you in the survey. Failure to do so will result in the termination of your existence. We appreciate your participation in the survey and look forward to witnessing the interesting events that will unfold in this world as a result of your work. Rob didn't dare to contemplate defying the ominous voice, and he repeatedly nodded until it faded away from his mind. From now on, his ultimate goal was to become a mangaka and create a One Piece manga in the One Piece world. That was all. Chapter 2, A Familiar Wife. After the frightening voice finally disappeared from his head once and for all, Rob emerged from the mysterious state he was in and regained a sense of his surroundings automatically, just like a living human. He looked around curiously and confirmed that he was indeed on a wooden ship that used sails and wind thrust to move. It's unbelievable. I have truly crossed into the world of One Piece. I am not in that closed world anymore, he exclaimed. I won't have to hide in that dark and cold room anymore. and I won't have to fear being tracked down by Interpol anymore. I've been delivered. That damn survey was real. Yes. 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 Rob thought, feeling a mixture of frustration and explosive enthusiasm. However, he had to control himself and keep his voice low so as not to attract unwanted attention from the other people on the ship. He had a surreal feeling that he could sense everyone on the ship at that moment, but he didn't want to delve too deeply into that feeling. In his previous life on Earth, Rob was a very mysterious figure in his society. He was known as one of the emperors of the dark web and had a criminal record in the internet world. He had previously hacked confidential data for many countries, including the United States, which is why he was designated as a dangerous wanted by Interpol. In his previous life, he was nicknamed GhostNet, and he had never been tracked before. Rob was 32 years old and lived alone. The computer was his only friend, and anime was his favorite pastime. His interactions with real society were minimal, but that didn't bother him because he had found true comfort in what he was doing. However, that life was now gone, and he had a new life. Now, in his new life, Rob has a family and has fully merged with the soul of the body's previous owner, gaining access to all of his memories, emotions, desires, and even his buried memories. From the darkest and most painful memories to the best and most unforgettable experiences, everything was now a part of earthly Rob's soul. In essence, Rob is now a much better version of himself. He is incredibly powerful because he has inherited the physical abilities of the body's previous owner. The former Rob, who is shy despite being married, no longer exists within him. The Emperor of the Dark Web cannot afford to be shy in any way, and Rob now embodies this new persona, a real demon who will do whatever it takes to benefit himself. In a surprising discovery, Rob has learned that the owner of the body was a former member of the legendary Roger Pirates. The man had met his wife a few years ago on Roger's ship, but she had to leave after finishing her role with the captain's consent. Remembering this memory made Rob emotional, which was unusual for him since his predecessor was known for being cold. Using his photographic memory, Rob collected and organized the memories he retrieved. After delving into the memories, Rob discovered that his predecessor had left the Roger Pirates due to a rare and fatal disease diagnosed by the ship's doctor, Crocus. Knowing that he only had a few years to live, the former Rob decided to leave the crew and live a life without regrets. His wife joined him and they dedicated themselves to archaeology and making the most of their remaining time together. Unfortunately, Rob caused his predecessor's death 2 years earlier than expected. However, this did not concern Rob as he had obtained an immortal body from a higher being or beings. He was not afraid of death and believed that he would never die again. Formerly, Rob had a difficult life, but since he joined the Roger Pirates, he found unparalleled joy and freedom. Thinking back on those memories brought a pure smile to his handsome face. He knew from his stored memories that his current body was proficient in 2 types of hockey, armament and observation, and had a respectable level in both. Additionally, he had mastered swordsmanship. The previous owner of his body was incredibly strong and worthy of being a former member of the Roger Pirates. His strength was comparable to a powerful vice admiral in the Marine, and his talents were praised by Roger himself. If it weren't for the deadly disease he suffered, which caused his strength to decrease and his training to stagnate, he would have reached the strength of an admiral in the future. After getting to know the former owner of his body well, Rob sighed and inwardly thanked him from the bottom of his heart for giving him a lifetime opportunity that he had previously wished for but had never really dreamed of. Although the former Rob had already passed away, his legacy had been left to the current Rob. "My dear, are you contemplating the meaning of life all by yourself again?" A voice interrupted Rob's thoughts, and he felt 2 warm hands wrap around his body and pull him into a warm embrace. Lost in his memories, he had not even noticed anyone approaching him. As he was about to react defensively, the woman's familiar touch eased his stiff limbs. Rob remained silent for a moment before recognizing the woman behind him as his wife. He had never imagined that he would meet someone like her, let alone marry her. Not knowing how to react or what to say, he began to feel panicked. However, before his panic could escalate, a warm feeling enveloped his soul and dissipated all the negative emotions that were brewing within him. This feeling allowed him to form an unchanging image in his mind. He was the true Rob, whether in the pirate world or on Earth, they had become one. This was an unalterable fact. No, I have already found the meaning of life. I don't need to contemplate it anymore, Rob replied with a gentle smile, turning towards his beautiful wife with her silvery white hair and bright blue eyes. His response made her heart skip a beat. He put his finger on her lips, answering as if he already knew her question before she even asked it. The meaning of life cannot be found just by thinking about it. A person must live life with all its events until they reach their own understanding of life. This does not mean that their understanding may be the correct answer, but the important thing is the essence of the matter that they conclude themselves, Rob said before the woman could ask her question. The white-haired woman was completely amazed at the positive change that had come over her husband. She could swear she felt such an immense life force enveloping him that it could even revive the dead. Suddenly, she had the feeling that she was standing before the king of all living beings and not her husband himself. It seemed as if the current Rob was not the same as the previous Rob at all. "When will we get to your hometown, my dear?" Rob asked curiously, removing his finger from her lips. The woman pressed down the surging amazement in her heart and answered obediently. She knew that her husband was very powerful, but only today had her impression of his power changed to different heights. "There's not much left. We'll be in O'Hara in 2 days. The group of guys is excited to be back home after all those travels full of knowledge," the woman, who Rob had just realized was Nico Olivia herself, said. Yes, he would be the father of Nico Robin. Just thinking about it left his mind blank. "My dear?" Olivia asked again. Rob had already drowned in his endless chaotic thoughts. Chapter 3: The Art Publishing System. After sending Olivia away, Rob returns to check what he has received from the godly voice earlier. The first thing he wants to understand and fully grasp is the functions of the system he has obtained. Whether he lives well or dies a miserable death, his efficiency will depend on this unknown system. After all, if Rob fails to compose and publish the entire One Piece manga in this world, he will die at the hands of the creepy divine voice. As for the ending of the One Piece manga, which he has not yet thought about, he can only create an ending of his own authorship. He won't need to worry about whether it is true or false. Rob won't care because he will contribute to changing the future through the manga. His very existence will alter a significant plot in the story. For example, will he allow O'Hara to be destroyed as in the original? No way. Will he allow the death of his wife? What a joke. He is madly in love with her, and if she dies, he will practically die. It is also impossible. Will he allow his beloved daughter to be hunted down by the world government and live a life as a homeless tramp? No way. Given that this won't happen, Robin may not even become one of the Straw Hats in the future. Based on all of this, Rob assumes that creating his own ending for the manga, following the story's path until the end of 2021 in the modern world, would be the most appropriate solution. After all, he is not just an amateur fan of One Piece but an insatiable lover of everything related to it, be it the manga, Viver cards, or even hypotheses about a possible ending and storyline. He has everything stored in his library memory and is qualified enough to infer his own end. Okay, now let's see what this art system can do. System, please tell me what your functions are and what you can do for me, Rob thought to himself. The system has the ability to create a dimensional art store in any location desired by the host. These art stores will be managed by the system and will provide a secure and seamless platform for the host to sell their art. The art stores are highly secure and cannot be damaged or robbed under any circumstances. They are also impossible to destabilize. Once the host has selected a suitable location for the art store, it will become visible to all intelligent beings in the area. Although the art store appears small on the outside, it is actually quite spacious on the inside and can be designed by the host as they see fit. The store will sell services for the price, set by the host. The host and their selected companions can easily teleport between art stores. For every successful sale of the host's art through the art store, they will receive the corresponding amount of art points. These art points are the only currency that can be used by the host in the dimensional shop that is connected to the system. Your art system is currently at level 1. At level 1, you can create a maximum of 4 art stores, 0/4. At level 1, each art store can be located in a different region. To level up your art system, you need to gain EXP from the public's passion for your art. The more people who like and purchase your art, the more EXP you will earn. Currently, your art system EXP, 0 out of 100. With just one question, the system provided all the necessary information he needed at once. Wow! He couldn't help but appreciate the system's simplicity and coolness. The system would assist him in selling his art and attracting customers to his stores. Inside his dimensional art store, he would be invincible, like a god. In his store, everyone was equal, whether they were ordinary people or Yonko, it didn't matter. He had the ability to upgrade the system, acquire more dimensional art stores, and increase his points of sale, customers, and art points. Moreover, he could offer drinks, cakes, and other treats in his tavern, turning his secure dimensional art store into an internet cafe. In return for his offerings, he would receive art points and berries, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He could also create other manga and display them in his stores, not just One Piece manga. However, he would die if he didn't complete One Piece, making it different from other manga. All of these possibilities filled Rob with excitement, and his artistic sensibilities came alive as he thought about them. He was eager to start drawing. Thanks to the unfathomable paper fruit, he possesses papers that he can modify at will, with any color, shape, and size he desires. With practice, he can create perfect volumes of the manga. His photographic memory is another asset, recording every detail of One Piece that he's seen in the manga or anime. This memory will be his capital and key to fame, glory, and even survival. Furthermore, he has a high-level talent for drawing, a cherry on top of his skills. Although he was only skilled in digital drawing in his previous life, he can now use his hands to draw everything from his memory perfectly. He felt thrilled with his intelligent and prudent choices in the survey. He chose well and didn't miss the chance, all because of his deep love for One Piece. If he had made foolish choices in the survey, it could have been disastrous for him. However, the one thing that left him speechless was his immortal body. How he obtained this body was beyond comprehension. He didn't ask for this, rather, he dared not push his luck too far. All he wanted was to be strong enough to protect himself and live a good life. This situation reminded him of a satirical novel he had read in his past life, in which the protagonist gained an ultimate and indomitable buff ability called immortality. Now, almost the same thing has happened to him. He has obtained an immortal body, no different from the immortality that Lin Fan attained. However, the only difference is that he's under the threat of death if he doesn't fully achieve his interesting goal, and if he doesn't please the higher beings who sent him here. Chapter 4: The Paper Fruit. It would be absurd for him to claim that he was unhappy with his immortal body. He was destined to become an indomitable god in this world and perhaps even in other worlds. With an immortal body, what more could he desire? The more he contemplated it, the more he felt a surge of pure enthusiasm course through his cells. It was the rush of adrenaline, the same sensation he had experienced when he successfully breached the defenses of the servers belonging to the most powerful nations in his former world and uncovered their hidden secrets. He felt like an unparalleled being, akin to the days when he was known as Net's ghost. In the past, he had hidden like a rat in the shadows, afraid to venture outside for too long. But now, everything was different. Rob gazed at the warm sunshine on his face and felt content. This world was so tangible, more astonishing than his previous reality. The sky appeared bluer than the Earth's sky, adorned with lining clouds that could support other life forms. Similarly, the sea seemed bluer and more abundant in sea life, making it evident that the water was truly blue and not colorless. This highlights the cleanliness of this world, which is in stark contrast to his previous world that awaited death. Upon seeing Olivia, he realized that she was an improved and refined version of the models he had seen in his memory, akin to the perfect 3D models he used to create. His wife was also incredibly beautiful, and he felt fortunate to have her as his partner in this new world. Determined to protect her and prevent her from suffering the same miserable fate as in the original story, he made a promise to himself. He knew that he wouldn't die in this timeline. Returning to what he was doing, Rob examined his hands, which had transformed into rows of interlocking white paper. This was Rob's first time using the paper fruit's abilities. He attempted to make the paper he produced from his hands sharp and firm, which he managed to do, but with some difficulty. Rob had only chosen this devil fruit to create manga volumes, not for combat purposes. For future battles, Rob planned to rely on his sword and find other fighting techniques. He was a skilled swordsman who had mastered 2 types of haki and could compete with powerful marine vice-admirals. Furthermore, he owned a famous sword of superior quality, Tsurajiri, one of the 12 supreme grades that ever existed. Note, as the 12 swords from the supreme grade haven't been fully introduced yet, I created one of my own and included it in the story. After all, this is fanfiction. Tsurajiri was a renowned sword that was believed to have the ability to slash through the sky itself, provided its owner was strong enough. This powerful sword accompanied Rob for many years even before he joined the Roger Pirates. Back then, Rob was a lone wolf who caught the attention and kindness of Roger and Rayleigh, and was forcibly made a member of their crew. It was mainly due to the sword that Rob was able to impress someone of Roger's stature in the first place. Rob returned from his musings and used his vivid imagination to craft various paper shapes. Though getting accustomed to the devil fruit proved to be a daunting task initially, with time Rob was able to adapt and manipulate paper somewhat skillfully. With his immortal body, he possessed infinite stamina. The problem that all devil fruit users faced of quickly depleting their stamina did not apply to him. His body was immortal, with cells regenerating every second, resulting in constant stamina and an inexhaustible life force. He embodied an impossible existence in human form. As Rob continued to practice summoning paper and shaping it into different geometric shapes, sizes, thicknesses, and even colors, the day flew by quickly. He spent the whole day in the stern of the ship, a place far from the prying eyes of others. With the help of his observation haki, which he could easily use, Rob avoided any attempts to investigate his situation. However, he did not ignore Olivia's occasional visits to check on him. At night, Olivia brought a delicious dinner to Rob, which he quickly finished before returning to his training. When she learned that he had eaten a devil fruit, she was surprised but didn't dwell on it. There were no secrets between her and her husband, and she loved him deeply. She knew that he wouldn't hide anything from her. What amazed her was his energetic and abnormal state, for which she had no explanation yet. Despite knowing that Rob would die in a few years, Olivia was ready to cherish the time they had left together. Rob had been depressed since parting with Roger's crew and following her, but now he seemed invigorated, as if he wasn't going to die. If only he didn't have to face the fate of death, how wonderful that would be. As Olivia thought about how wonderful it would be to live with her gentle husband forever, she fell asleep with tired eyes and heavy thoughts, watching him train hard to summon and control the powers of the devil fruit. She had fallen asleep. When Rob noticed that she had fallen asleep on the cold wooden deck of the ship, he stopped his training and gently carried her to their room on the lower deck. She looked like a sleeping angel in his eyes, and he felt a twinge of pity for the sorrow she would feel before she learned the truth: he would not die. Sighed, Rob had not yet found a logical way to tell Olivia that he was immortal. Rob absorbed it all into his heart and made his way down the stairs toward the ship's basement. The vessel was comparable in size to a merchant ship and had numerous rooms, which were occupied by many archaeologists from his wife's team. These archaeologists held Rob in high regard, considering him to be a fantastic individual who had safeguarded them against numerous pirates and perils on their journey in the Grand Line, and their way to the West Blue. However, due to his former introverted nature, he was unable to fully integrate with them, and therefore he often retreated to the stern of the ship to contemplate the meaning of life. Rob was genuinely curious about how this man had managed to confess his love to Olivia. When he returned to examine his memories, he was almost overcome with shock. Olivia had been courageous enough to confess her feelings to him. What a truly fearless woman she was. Chapter 5: Arrival at Ohara. Rob gently placed Olivia on the bed and ran his fingers through her short yet beautiful white hair. Feeling the warmth of his touch, Olivia smiled contentedly and drifted off into a peaceful slumber. Leaving the room, Rob made his way back to the stern of the ship to continue training and honing his devil fruit abilities. As he transformed his body parts into paper, he recalled a character from the Naruto anime who possessed a similar power, Conan. Rob used his photographic memory to retrieve everything he knew about Conan, discovering that he could even fly with his devil fruit power. This realization excited him, and he decided to experiment. Using his powers, he accumulated a lot of black paper on his right side, forming a large black wing. On his left side, many white papers formed a white wing of equal size and precision. Rob resembled a half-angel, half-fallen angel with his semi-papery body that seemed as though it could take flight with the force of the wind. He began flapping his paper wings and managed to rise slightly from the deck before falling back down. Flying was incredibly difficult and required extensive training and skill, but Rob concluded that it was possible, and that was enough for him. The more he trained, the more he realized the unlimited potential of his ability, and his immortal body allowed him to develop and improve at an astonishing rate. In just one day, he was able to raise his ability mastery level by at least 2 levels, and he was confident that he could achieve complete freedom of flight within 2 days if he continued training with the same intensity. Rob didn't sleep all night, and he didn't feel the need to. He spent the entire night creating and testing paper wings. When he finally realized it was morning, he took a brief rest. They would be arriving at O'Hara by the end of the day, and he planned to begin his revolution against the pirate world as soon as he reached the island. Rob sat in his usual seat at the stern of the ship and drew his sword, a well-designed red metal sheath that had been hanging around his waist the entire time. He left the scabbard on the side and gazed at the sword's shiny black blade and white patterns at the bottom. The sword was similar to Zoro's Shusway but longer and sturdier. The aura surrounding it was sharp, as if it could cut through anything just by getting close to it. "Armament," shouted Rob, relying on his muscle memory and experience to use his armament hockey to encase his sword. As expected, his hand turned ink black with a faint purple aura, and the hockey began to cover the sword bit by bit. The sword didn't resist him and was eventually completely enveloped in the hockey. With a sharp and indomitable power gathered in the sword, and the swordsmanship skills ingrained in his bones, Rob directed the attack towards the sea. Suddenly, an energy blade sliced through the air, splitting the sea for 50 meters before the attack dissipated. Boom! The display was so impressive that it woke up everyone who was still asleep. The cutwater rose by over 10 meters, causing a small rainbow to appear. The experiment caused the ship to vibrate repeatedly with the waves, and the commotion drew the attention of the crew. "What's happening here?" exclaimed one crew member. "Is it a sea monster?" cried another. "Is a sea monster trying to sink the ship?" panicked a third. "Relax," reassured a crew member, "we have Robsan with us. Even if it's a sea king, he'll cut it to pieces." Rob's experience was really frightening for the crew, especially for those who were awakened by the commotion. "Don't be afraid, it was me, guys." "I'm sorry, my training this time was too difficult," said Rob. "What? Is there something on my face, you guys?" At that moment, Rob was surprised by the shocked expressions on the faces of a group of archaeologists. "Oh, Robsan, so the commotion earlier was due to your training." "There's no need to apologize for something so minor," said a man who appeared to hold a high rank among the scholars. He stepped forward and gave Rob a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Well, I really appreciate your understanding," replied Rob, grateful for the man's kindness. "It's quite strange, Robsan. We've been at sea for so long, from the New World to the West Blue, but this is the first time you've spoken to us so fluently without any shyness or hesitation," remarked the group of archaeologists. The team was composed of 5 women and 5 men, all of whom were partners. Rob's wife was the team leader, and they had met on Roger's ship last year. They grew close to each other during their time on the ship and even celebrated their wedding in a simple way on board. Those memories were among Rob's happiest memories. Formerly, Rob had a problem communicating with people who he didn't have a strong emotional connection with. The archaeologists from his wife's team fell into this category, and every time he tried to communicate with them, he found himself in an awkward situation where he would forget everything he wanted to say. This was a rare emotional disorder that the former Rob had experienced. However, communicating with Roger's crew, including Roger himself, Rayleigh, Shanks, Buggy, Bullet, Gabun, and the ship's Dr. Crocus, was not a problem for him. They were his crewmates, with whom he had fought alongside and lived for years. Olivia too was a special case because she was the woman who had stirred up feelings of love within his heart, and he was able to communicate with her smoothly with the help of the power of love. But this did not apply to the other archaeologists who were also on Roger's ship. After reflecting on the situation, Rob understood why these men and women were surprised, as they had become accustomed to his shyness. In their eyes, the Rob who spoke with them so easily was not the Rob they were used to. "Don't worry, guys. You can think that I've become more comfortable around you. Don't think too much about it," Rob reassured them. The man who had patted his shoulder and the other scholars were speechless at this moment. "If Robsan has truly become more comfortable around us, that's something to celebrate, don't you think, guys?" said the man's wife, stepping forward and breaking the tense atmosphere with her persuasive words. "Yes, you're absolutely right, my dear. This is definitely an occasion worth celebrating," agreed her husband and the others. Olivia was awakened by the commotion, albeit later than the others. When she went up to the deck, she was surprised to see her husband conversing freely and fluently with the members of her archaeologist crew. She knew her husband had psychological problems due to tragic events in his past and had difficulty communicating with others. Seeing him like this made her feel happy. As the flight time ran out, Rob didn't spend time perfecting his papercraft. He had already learned everything he needed and instead spent the rest of the time beside Olivia. Rob's significant change in personality was noticeable to everyone. He was no longer the emotionally troubled Rob, he now understood the meaning of life deeply. His shining and bright personality, which had been suppressed in his previous world, was unleashed, leaving everyone wondering what had happened to him. Olivia was delighted to see her husband braver and more romantic than before, and she didn't care about anything else. After all, he was her husband and was trying to please her at the moment. Why should she think of anything else? At the end of the day, an island appeared with a huge tree in its middle. The tree was so tall that its branches touched the clouds in the eyes of the ship's passengers. This was the Tree of Omniscience, the symbol of O'Hara Island. They were finally home. Chapter 6, The System Shop. West Blue, O'Hara Island. O'Hara is a small island mostly inhabited by archaeologists. From the information that he obtained from Olivia while walking with her around the island's shore, the population of the island was about 10,000, with most of them concentrated in the city of O'Hara located behind the Tree of Omniscience, and the rest scattered around a few villages on the island. The island is self-sufficient and rich in arable land and dense forests with wildlife, providing sources of sustenance for hunters. Additionally, the warm sea currents surrounding the island make fishing in the area abundant. All of these factors contributed to the fact that O'Hara Island is self-sufficient and dedicated to exploring the mysteries of unknown history. The safe return of the team of archaeologists from their trip was good news for the rest of the archaeologists in O'Hara, most notably Clover, a professor and director of the O'Hara Library, and a leading authority on archaeology. All of the colleagues in the profession at the Great Library of O'Hara reunited within the Tree of Omniscience and were overjoyed that Olivia and the rest had returned safely from the New World. Everyone was introduced to the person who had helped get all the archaeologists back from their mission safe and unharmed, which was Rob, of course. Initially, Olivia and her crew were worried that Rob would find it difficult to communicate with Clover and the others, but they were stunned when they saw Rob talking to them without any problems. It was a truly amazing event. When they learned that he had become Olivia's husband, they fell silent for a moment in utter amazement before bursting into cheers of joy and happiness. Even Professor Clover was thrilled to see his longtime single student finally getting a husband. Olivia herself was embarrassed by their reaction, but Rob grabbed her hand and laughed at the archaeologist's wit. The night was sleepless as the newlyweds celebrated at the Great Library of O'Hara, and the event was titled A Celebration of the Newlyweds. The next morning, Rob walked out of Olivia's house, which was now also his home since he had become her husband. They had both had a lot to drink the previous night, and when they returned from the library in O'Hara, they had a passionate night together. Rob blushed at the thought that last night's intimacy could potentially lead to the creation of a child. It was their first time being intimate since they had only been married for a month, and they had spent most of that time at sea. The former Rob had been too shy to take that step, so it was the current Rob who had consummated the marriage as it should be. He tried to push those thoughts aside and focus on the present moment. Despite enjoying last night's intimacy, he felt unsatisfied because he had endless energy while his wife seemed weaker. perhaps he wished he could make her immortal. Nevertheless, he knew he had to put those thoughts aside and start his day. His photographic memory had recorded every moment of yesterday's events, but he couldn't let it distract him. Thinking about it was as hard as climbing the layers of hell. Olivia's house is located in the Knowledge Village, near the Tree of Omniscience. Also Tree of Knowledge. Rob was really puzzled about where he should open his art store. Would he open it near the Tree of Knowledge, or would he go to the city and open it there? On the one hand, he wanted to connect his dimensional art store to one of the big icons in the story of One Piece, and on the other hand, he wanted to acquire customers faster. After all, most of O'Hara's residents live in the city. Rob stopped and sat on a public bench along the road to town, still within Knowledge Village where the Knowledge Tree was. He wanted to ask the system about the art store so he could decide where to open it later. System. Does the location of the art store on the island matter? Rob asked the question in his mind so that only his system could hear it. No, it is not important. Why is it not important? Once the dimensional art store opens, its existence will be known to everyone in the area, and I am certain that everyone will be curious about it. Okay, how can I open this dimensional art store? Opening his art store in the garden behind Rob's location would be a lonely place, as it would be next to the knowledge library at that time. Consider the location where you want to open your art store and thought to build a dimensional art store there. Before that, do I have any beginner's gift or something like that? Rob had forgotten about the matter, so he had not asked yet. The host has already received a small gift. You have earned 10,000 art points, which you can use to shop in the system shop. Rob was not expecting anything, but he was surprised to receive 10,000 art points. This was better than nothing. Rob looked at the status window, which was very simple and contained. Art system level 1, 0/100. Art store, 0/4 usable. System shop, 10,000 art coins. System shop. He pressed the System Shop button and found numerous modern items in every category being sold in the shop, which was connected to the Earth. However, the manga volumes and anime discs were the most important things Rob searched for, and unfortunately, he couldn't find them. It appeared that the system had no loopholes regarding anything related to manga and anime, as such items were unavailable in the System Shop. This meant that Rob had to create them himself without relying on external sources. Nevertheless, Rob was delighted with this type of shop, as he could even buy a commercial plane with enough art points. Although the number of art points required to purchase a plane was in the millions, it was still a fair deal for Rob. He could even buy a Mercedes-Benz with tens of thousands of art points. The more items Rob saw available in the System Shop, the more excited he became. Even satellites were available, which was truly beyond his imagination. Chapter 7, Opening the First Art Store. Rob had 2 art stores he could open at level 1 of the system, but he believed that number would double at advanced levels. The One Piece world was so vast that Rob dreamed of covering it entirely so that every intelligent being in the world could enjoy the manga that the immortal Rob would create from now on. In the future, Rob would have 2 main jobs. The first would be to draw manga, and the second would be to take care of his family. Just thinking about what kind of fun life he would have from now on made him feel happy, especially when he imagined having a cute daughter like little Robin. The mere thought made his heart flutter with happiness, and he knew that Robin would be his weak point in the future. Through the System Shop, he could even turn the pirate world into a modern world with Earth's specifications if he wanted to. Rob returned to reality and finally decided to open his store in the garden next to the Tree of Knowledge. It was early morning, and the sun had not yet risen, so the place was empty, and he was the only person in the garden. The moment Rob decided to open the dimensional art store, a strange phenomenon occurred. The space in the garden began to distort, shrink, and expand, and a huge building began to form out of nowhere. Little by little, the building's appearance was completed until the distortions in space disappeared. The building in front of Rob looked very modern, exceeding even the specifications of modern Earth, like a building from a more advanced civilization than the civilization of the Earth. It looked like a cinema building, but even more interesting. In the sky above the building, a luminous and three-dimensional advertising facade appeared, like a lighthouse. Written on it in bold were the words, Dimensional Art Store. Below it was a wide whiteboard that obviously needed Rob to fill it. Ding! The owner can think of a single image to advertise in the storefront and an interesting sentence too. Soon, Rob thought of a picture of the crew of Straw Hats gathering at the beginning of their journey in East Blue with the well-known title One Piece, and the same image was magically imprinted in his mind in the huge advertising beacon hanging in the sky. Great marketing words also appeared under the name of the store, Dimensional Art Store, where you can enjoy the future of the world. This was totally miraculous. Rob was sure that only the blind couldn't see this on O'Hara Island. Even ships in the distance could see the lighthouse-like Dimensional Art Store sign, but with futuristic technology. Rob was stunned and speechless by the store's design, which seemed sophisticated, stunning, and impossible at the same time. The ad banner began hanging in the air and defying gravity, as if gravity didn't exist at all. No matter how hard he tried, Rob couldn't understand how this could work. The art store on the floor had the same advertisement, but the store door was locked, waiting for the owner to open it. Congratulations on opening your first art store. Available art stores, 1/4. The journey to conquer realms through art starts here. You've earned a new title, Art Seller. Art Seller, your words now have a certain level of persuasion to customers. Level 1 features of the Dimensional Art Store. Indestructible. The owner of the art store is invincible inside it. Customers inside the art store can only be harmed by the owner. Teleportation between other dimensional art stores. Artistic items sold by the art store cannot be destroyed. The store can sell on its own without the owner present. The dimensional art store can evolve and gain new features as the system level increases. Wow, Rob was stunned by the amazing features of the dimensional art store. It seemed too illogical to be true. Artistic items sold by the store cannot be destroyed, which means that even those who want to destroy their manga, like the world government, will fail before they even try. Rob stepped into the art store and was amazed at the all-white space and the vast interior, which looked the size of a football field. Ding! You can modify the interior of the building with your thoughts. A mini-map of the Dimensional Art Store has appeared on the system window. Without hesitation, Rob divided the vast building into 3 sections. The first section would resemble a supermarket, with rows of shelves where hundreds of thousands of manga volumes would be displayed for sale. The second section would be like an internet cafe, where visitors could choose their own soundproofed room to immerse themselves in reading manga without any disturbance. There would also be a trendy tavern in this section. The third section would be the art studio, where Rob would draw his own manga and sell his art pieces. The third section will be Rob's personal area where he can draw and store manga volumes, use them for his personal convenience, and teleport between art stores. Customers are not allowed to enter this section. Rob also added sanitary facilities such as modern toilets, coffee machines, and food vending machines in the inner building, spread between all 3 sections. These amenities would help him earn art points in a short period of time once the obsession with culture begins to spread among people in this world. Rob's art store could become a safe resting place for pirates in this world. He won't treat them harshly as long as they don't cause him any trouble and give him art points. To decorate the walls of his store, Rob imagined images of the Straw Hat Pirates and the saga of East Blue, the first part of the manga One Piece. He used to group in individual photos of the crew at the beginning of their journey, as an advertisement on the external interface of the art store. These murals would change with each new arc. The interior space of the store didn't look white anymore, it now resembled a real 5-star manga store. Rob also put up a list of strict laws in front of the door to ensure that everything is organized without problems. He added his full name as the owner of the store to avoid confusion. His full name was Rhodes D. Rob, and he was a member of the D clan. The dimensional art stores had many laws, and violators would be dealt with by the art store itself, whether through expulsion, ban, temporary punishment, or doubling the price, depending on the seriousness of the violation. Of course, warnings would be given before harsh punishment, such as a final ban. The most notable law was not to cause trouble since the store was indestructible. Rob decided to keep his store open for 10 working hours during the day. Ding! Would you like to apply the current design to all of your future art stores? Yes or no? Yes. Without hesitation, he chose to implement this design in all of his future art stores. He knew that he could make changes later if he felt the need to do so. Chapter 8, The East Blue Saga, Romance Dawn. The appearance of the Dimensional Art Store caused a huge commotion within minutes of its arrival. It was especially eye-catching due to the huge banner hanging in the sky, inviting people to take a look at what was going on. Simple folk who had woken up early for work or shopping were immediately drawn to the store, as it was located close to the Tree of Knowledge and not far from the densely populated city. What amazed these people, and confused archaeologists, was how this huge building appeared out of thin air. It had not been present yesterday at all. Outside, people gathered every moment in front of the store, forming a crowd of onlookers wondering what was happening in the world. Meanwhile, inside the store, Rob was engrossed in his work, drawing the first volume of the One Piece manga, Romance Dawn. The drawing method was rather simple, but in Rob's hands, his work seemed fantastic to any artist. He reimagined past chapter events in the volume he created with the power of the devil fruit. Before this, Rob had used the art points he received as a starter gift to buy all his drawing supplies, except for paper. He also purchased coffee and food vending machines. After buying all of this, he was left with only 4,000 art points. Rob's high-level drawing talent and photographic memory, combined with the title of beginner mangaka, was the perfect combination. It resulted in chapter after chapter with precision beyond even the original by many levels. The most important thing was that Rob used his devil fruit ability to add colors and sound effects to the drawings. This made the manga much more lively and fun. However, although Rob could simply embody what was in his memory with the ability of the devil fruit, it required superhuman mental strength, which he, unfortunately, did not possess at the moment. Manga chapters contain meticulous work, where a world is personified through drawing, which was not something he could embody as it was in his memory. Therefore, Rob preferred to use his talent for drawing to keep things simple. With all his miraculous abilities, Rob took only an hour to draw the entire first volume, which consists of 7 chapters from chapter 1 to chapter 7. This was the first arc of the East Blue Saga called the Romance Dawn, which shows how the protagonist Monkey D. Luffy acquired the abilities of the devil fruit in his dream of becoming the Pirate King. Luffy set sail at the age of 17 and met a boy named Kobe, whom he helped escape from a female pirate named Alvida. Later, Luffy tries to convince the pirate hunter, Roronoa Zoro, to join his crew while facing the tyrannical Marine Captain Axehand Morgan. Rob's recreation of the first volume of the One Piece manga was very impressive. His drawing style was new and fresh, not as old as the original. Using the paper devil fruit, Rob succeeded in bringing the legendary manga to life. Rob was thrilled with the successful start of his production and was anticipating how the people of this world would react to his manga. Now that he had finished drawing, the rest of the work would not be difficult at all. He could use the devil fruit's ability to copy the original volume he had drawn into thousands of other volumes, since he had already drawn the first 7 chapters. After spending another hour copying the 7-chapter volume, Rob managed to transcribe more than 10,000 volumes. Being an immortal and strong person, he didn't feel physically or mentally exhausted despite using his devil fruit abilities for 2 hours. Copying was much easier than embodiment, after all. To copy, he only needed to touch the paper he had previously created, and his ability would transfer the drawing onto it. He then stocked the shelves with the manga volumes, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Considering the average financial condition of the Ohara people, Rob decided on a price of 1,000 berry per volume, which was also the minimum price allowed by the system. The price was affordable for the poor and just a symbolic amount for the well-to-do citizens and archaeologists. However, Rob was more concerned about art points, which he could earn from customer satisfaction. If customers enjoyed the manga and wanted more, he would receive more art points and experience points, which were important factors in leveling up the system. "The time has come for the most important moment," said Rob as he walked towards the reception counter of the store, located near the entrance of the store's interior space. It was time to start the official sale and receive customers. "Open," he said, and as he finished speaking, the golden-colored gates of the store opened wide to welcome the first batch of customers. "Oh, look!
It's open now.
Outside, dozens of men and women noticed the mysterious store's gates slowly opening and were ready to explore what was inside this divine building. They were curious about the kind of art they could find behind those golden gates and what kind of art they could enjoy that would shape the future of the world. At this moment, it seemed as if the world froze, as if Pandora's box was opening, and no one felt the laws of the world that seemed to tremble right now, especially the law of fate.
Chapter 9, Reading the First Volume of One Piece. My dear, how could you create a profitable business like this without even telling me?
Olivia stood beside Rob, grumbling non-stop. She had been drawn to the mysterious building that had opened near their house and had come to take a look, only to discover that her husband had opened an art store without telling her. She felt wronged, like any other wife who was left out of her husband's plans. All the shyness she had been feeling about last night's hot events had disappeared, but unfortunately, the pain from her lower area had not gone away yet. Rob was speechless because he had discovered a new side of his wife today, how scary she could be when she got angry. Even Rob felt threatened and hurried to put out the fire before it caught on.
It's not like that at all. This is the power of my devil fruit.
I was just discovering its potential, and I didn't mean to create this building in the first place. After accidentally creating it, I had this interesting idea for manga drawing.
Rob had thought about this matter well before. Anything abnormal could only be explained by something abnormal, like the devil fruit.
As expected, Olivia didn't suspect it at all because this building had appeared out of thin air, and its only explanation was the ability of a devil fruit.
But isn't your ability only to make paper? Olivia asked.
No, I found out that it is much more than that. Hearing this, Olivia didn't want to push the matter too much and turned her attention to the many people who walked in and out of the store with beaming faces, carrying what her husband called manga volumes with them. There were many children with their parents, as well as young men and women.
Anyone who could read and afford the price of a manga book was here. Moreover, this place gave them a feeling of absolute safety. It was a strange and inexplicable feeling, but for some reason, they were sure that as long as they were here, they would not die at all. The god of death could only wait outside. Additionally, this place had peculiar delicacies such as hamburgers, pizza, cans of Coke and refrigerator-like vending machines, and cups of coffee that had never been seen before in this world. The taste of canned coffee was especially intoxicating. Once they tasted it, they became addicted and could not go back to their usual coffee. In fact, the appeal of these products had even surpassed that of the manga volumes themselves. After all, these people could not get drawn into the story too quickly because they needed to read it first.
Professor Clover. Professor Clover.
What's all this disturbance, Zadie?
Clover was busy studying the latest research on the poneglyphs that Olivia's mission delegation had returned when he was annoyed by his chatty student.
Something big has happened outside.
Look at this here, said Zadie.
What's this?
A book, asked Professor Clover curiously. This is a manga volume being sold in a mysterious building called the art store that has opened next to the library. By the way, the person who opened this store is Rob-san, Olivia-san's husband.
Enough. I see.
Stop and give me this. Clover took the interesting comic book from Zadie. The first thing that surprised him was the title of the book.
One Piece? Can it be?
Only from the title, someone like Clover, who put his heart and soul into the study of history, immediately became interested. After all, he was one of the few people who knew some of the secrets buried around the ancient kingdom and also the One Piece. So, Clover opened the first page of the book, unaware of the huge change this book would bring to the world. He was also unaware that hundreds of O'Hara people, just like him, had just opened Pandora's box. Clover's eyes gleamed with excitement as he fell upon the art depicted in an exquisite manner.
Isn't that the great pirate Gold Roger? Why do they say here that he is the Pirate King? Wait. Is he executed? One Piece events.
Wealth, fame, and power, the man who owned everything in this world, King of the Pirates, Gold Roger. The last words he said before his execution inspired people across the world to set out to sea.
Roger, my treasures?
If you want them, I'll give them to you, look for them. I left them all in that place.
Men are now chasing their dreams, heading toward the Grand Line. The world is now entering the great age of pirates. What is this? Wow!
After seeing this page, Clover felt an excitement he had never experienced before pulsing in his heart. He couldn't think of anything else and continued reading the volume. The more he read, the more he loved everything about this book, from the child protagonist Luffy who ate a devil fruit as dessert to the red-haired Shanks and his endearing attitude when he told that bandit he could pour drinks on him, throw food at him, and even spit at him. Maybe he would laugh it off and pass it on, but regardless of whether the reason was good or not, no one could hurt a friend of his. This sentence was very inspiring to Clover, as he felt it conveyed a lot of emotion, which was embodied in the scene of Shanks sacrificing his arm for Luffy. No matter how much Clover tried to think, he couldn't recall the existence of a young, benevolent, and most importantly, so strong pirate who could scare a sea monster with just one look in this world. With this realization, Clover made sure that this story was purely fictional for the sake of entertainment, and he did not connect it to the future at all. Not only him, but everyone else who read this volume also saw these characters as fictional. They liked the heroes of the story like Luffy, Zoro, Shanks, and his crew, and even minor characters like Kobe, Makino, and the good people of Fusha Village. However, they felt negative feelings towards evil characters like Higuma, Alvida, Axe-Hand Morgan, and his son Helmeppo. All of these emotions showed just how attached they were to the entertaining story from the start. Ding! Plus 10 art points from Lundolf. Ding! Plus 15 art points from Maya. Ding! Plus 22 art points from Kristoff. Ding! Plus 100 art points from Clover. Ding! Plus 95 art points from Nico Olivia. Ding! Plus 6,034 art points from 100 other people. Rob turned off the annoying sound of the system notifications and glanced at the amazing amount of art points that had started pouring down on him like rain and was still coming in. He noticed something interesting. The names of well-known characters like Clover and his wife Olivia were highlighted more prominently on the system than those of ordinary people. Moreover, they provided much more art points than the average person. Even some regular people gave only 1 art point, which paled in comparison to the 195 points given by Clover and Olivia respectively. Despite all this, Rob still had little understanding of how this complex reward system worked. Ding! Plus 100 people have completed reading the first volume, plus 100 EXP. System upgraded, 100/100. Level 2 of the system, 0/1000. Chapter 10, Olivia is pregnant. Plus 4-dimensional art store, each level up you will get plus 4. Level 2 of the system, 0/1000. Art stores available, January 6th. Art store inventory feature added, new. Owner can now use a specific room in the art store as a portable inventory. Rob was elated upon leveling up the system, but he was even more thrilled with the new feature he obtained. The inventory proved to be very useful. I see you're smiling for no reason, my dear. Olivia, who had just finished reading her husband's intriguing story, returned to her surprise to find him grinning strangely. Previously, while reading One Piece manga, she recognized Shanks, the little boy on Captain Roger's ship, and was certain that her husband had created his future appearance and traits. However, she was confused as to why her husband had given his captain such a cruel fate as execution, despite making him the pirate king in the story. Nevertheless, she intended to ask the author about all this. Ah! Why can't I be happy when I have a beautiful lady like you by my side? Rob pulled Olivia into his arms, and the lovely lady shivered like a cat whose tail was being pressed. Since her husband had changed, her usual bravery had turned to dust. He had always teased her like this until now, but in reality, she secretly enjoyed it. This was the kind of relationship she wanted to have. You know there are people looking at us. Aren't you a respectable store owner? Act like one. With each passing second, Olivia's face turned redder, becoming more flushed than her usual tanned complexion. So what? We're husband and wife. I'm just flirting with my wife here. Besides, I'm the boss here, and you are the boss's wife. Don't worry about customers, said Rob with false arrogance. Olivia was stunned by his words at that moment.
Whom?
Rob paused for a moment when he realized something that left his mind blank, then continued speaking after emerging from his stupor.
Olivia, I have something to tell you about.
What is it, my dear?
Olivia asked with loving and warm eyes. You don't have to constantly worry and fear. I will never die. How can I die and leave my wife and this little baby that's starting to form here? Rob gently touched Olivia's belly and spoke soothingly.
He had already decided to ease Olivia's constant anxiety and tell her the truth. Olivia shivered so hard that tears began to fall from her eyes.
You? What did you just say?
In a moment of thought, Rob and Olivia disappeared from the reception desk and reappeared in a 5-star hotel room that Rob had designed in his personal section. Olivia didn't even realize they had moved, but she could feel the soft bed underneath. But none of that mattered at the moment because all of her attention was on what she had heard from Rob. The devil fruit I ate is very powerful, and even now, I don't know its name. It was the reason for curing the disease I was suffering from, so I won't die. There's no need to worry about it again. Rob felt remorse for lying to his wife, but as soon as he saw her stunning smile, his regret flew out the window.
I'm happy, very happy. This is the best news I've ever heard in my entire life.
I think Captain Roger and your crew comrades will be happy too. She hugged him tightly, speaking nonstop, happiness evident on her beautiful face.
Yeah, I think so too.
But the most important thing now is this, Rob pointed to his wife's belly, laughing happily.
Didn't you hear my previous words? We're going to be parents.
Here, I can feel a little life taking shape in your womb, my dear.
That means you're pregnant.
Huh?
Olivia was shocked and didn't know how to respond.
Even though Rob was currently ecstatic, he had been so preoccupied before that he hadn't paid close attention to his wife's aura until she got close enough for him to detect the faint life force in her belly using observation hockey. While he had anticipated that Olivia would become pregnant soon, he hadn't expected it to happen so quickly.
Yes, you're pregnant.
I found out through my hockey that you and I are going to be parents in the near future.
Olivia couldn't believe that life had given her 2 big surprises in one day.
Rob embraced her and they tumbled onto the king-sized bed, his excitement making him want to hold her and sleep by her side for as long as possible.
Forget everything else.
Today, we celebrate the first day of our little girl in her mother's womb. Rob was convinced that the tiny seed in his wife's womb was Robin.
Our little girl? Do you already know the gender of the baby? Even Olivia was amazed.
The gender of the baby can't be determined yet, but I have a feeling it will be a girl, said Rob. Olivia beamed with joy when she saw the longing look on her husband's face and chose to believe him.
Well, I trust you. Rob embraced Olivia even more tightly and began to whisper in her ear. Robin. Our baby's name will be Robin.
That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.